It's 3:17 a.m. The house is silent. Everyone is asleep. And you're staring at the ceiling. Eyes wide open. Mind perfectly clear. Not tired, no. Just awake. As if someone flipped a switch inside of you. You look at your phone. The red numbers in the dark. 3:17. And then, that thought arrives. The one you know all too well, if this has happened to you before. Why am I awake? Your body doesn't hurt. You didn't have a nightmare. There are no sounds in the house. And yet, you're here. Completely here. As if something, or someone, gently pulled you from your sleep. And then the thoughts come. Always the same ones at this hour. That problem at work you haven't solved. That relationship that's weighing on you. That decision you've been putting off for weeks. At 3 a.m., everything feels heavier, more urgent, more hopeless. As if the night amplifies every worry and shrinks every hope. But what if I told you that this is not by chance? Not a glitch in your sleep cycle. Not just stress coming to the surface. Not a coincidence. What if waking up at 3 a.m. was actually a summons? For millennia, prophets, monks, night watchmen, they knew the secret of these hours. They didn't fear them. They awaited them. Because they knew something the modern world has forgotten. That when all is asleep, some things awaken. In this video, we're going to decode together what's really happening between 3 and 5 a.m. Who is calling you? Why now? And most importantly, what you're meant to do. Because the next time you wake up in the silence of the night, you will never look at those red numbers the same way again. First, let's talk about fear. Because we can't ignore what history has done with these hours. For centuries, across entire cultures, medieval Europe, African traditions, Asian legends, there is a disturbing consensus. 3 a.m. The hour when the veil between worlds is thinnest. The hour the ancients called the witching hour. The hour of spirits. The hour when darkness is said to be at its peak power. The hour that entire generations have learned to fear. And honestly, if you wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about that, it's normal to feel a chill. But here's what those traditions didn't see. Or rather, what they saw in reverse. In the Christian tradition, Jesus died at 3 p.m. The original Greek text says the 9th hour, which corresponds exactly to 3 p.m. on our clocks. It is the hour of light. The hour of sacrifice. The hour when something irreversible was accomplished. So if 3 p.m. is the hour of light, 3 a.m. is its exact opposite on the clock face. And that is precisely why darkness has always tried to claim this hour. Not because it owns it, but because it wants to counterfeit what belongs to the light. Darkness creates nothing. It imitates. It counterfeits. It inverts. And for centuries, it has succeeded in convincing the entire world that 3 a.m. belonged to it. It's the oldest lie in history. Because in the Bible, this hour never belonged to darkness. It belongs to the Watchman. In Isaiah 62, God says something extraordinary. On your walls, O Jerusalem, I have set watchmen, all the day and all the night, they shall never be silent. All the day and all the night. They shall never be silent. The watchman, in Hebrew, Shama, is not someone who endures the night. It's someone who holds it. In ancient times, the watchman on the city walls was the most important man in the city. While everyone else slept, he saw what no one else could see. The threats on the horizon. But also, the first signs of dawn. He was the first to cry out, "The morning is coming." And now I need you to understand something. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you are not a victim of a cursed hour. You are being summoned to your post. The world around you is silent. Social media can wait. The notifications are asleep. The constant noise of humanity, the cars, the conversations, the screens, all of it has finally gone quiet. And in this rare silence, your spirit can finally hear what it can't perceive during the day. Scientists call this the reduction of cognitive noise. The Benedictine monks called it vigils, the prayer of the Watchman, celebrated precisely at 3 a.m. since the 6th century. Men who rose every single night. Not out of obligation. Out of conviction. The conviction that these hours were the most precious of the entire day. So here's what I want you to take away from this part. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't think, "This cursed hour again." Think, "My watch has begun." But watch over what, exactly? Watch out for whom? Because sometimes, this awakening isn't for you. It's for someone else. And that might be the most shattering part of everything you're going to hear today. Let me ask you a question. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up at 3 a.m., and a name just pops into your head. Not gradually. Not like a fading dream. Directly. Clearly. Immediately. Someone you may not have seen in weeks. A childhood friend. A family member. Someone you weren't even consciously thinking about. And there, in the silence of your room, that name is just there. Insistent. Present. Impossible to ignore. Most people just roll over in bed. Close their eyes. And try to pull that name back to sleep with them. But some have learned to recognize this moment for what it truly is. An assignment. In the biblical tradition, intercession isn't an option. It's not reserved for pastors or saints. It's a role. A role that God entrusts to ordinary people in extraordinary moments. In Ezekiel 22, God says something that should stop us in our tracks. "I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land, but I found no one." I found no one. God was looking for someone. Someone who would agree to stand up. To stand in the gap. And on that night, he found no one. The question that has haunted me ever since I read that verse, and that maybe should haunt you too. What if he was looking for you? I'm going to share something with you. Testimonies I've received that you might recognize because they sound like something you've lived through. A woman wakes up at 3:15 a.m. For no reason. Wide awake. Her brother's name comes to her immediately. She hesitates. Stares at the ceiling. Then she gets up, kneels, and prays. The next morning, her brother calls her. The night before, he'd been in a car accident. At 3:15 exactly, his car had veered off the road. He walked away unharmed. With no logical explanation for the first responders. A man, this time. Woken up at 3 a.m. for several nights in a row. Every night, the same face in his mind. A coworker he had argued with. Someone he had been avoiding for weeks. He finally sends a simple text in the morning. "Thinking of you. Are you okay?" The reply comes within minutes. "I was thinking of ending it all last night. Your message came at the right time." This isn't superstition. This isn't coincidence. This is what Paul calls in Ephesians 6, praying at all times in the Spirit. At all times. Including, and perhaps especially, at 3 a.m. And this is where Michael comes in again. If you saw our previous video on the 3 archangels, you'll remember that Michael is the warrior. The prince of the heavenly hosts. But here's what we didn't have time to dig into. Michael doesn't fight alone. In the book of Daniel, something extraordinary happens. Daniel prays. He fasts. He intercedes. For 21 days. And the angel who finally appears to him says, "From the first day that you set your heart to understand, your words were heard. But the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." Do you see what's happening here? Daniel's prayer on earth triggered a battle in the heavens. Michael intervened because someone was praying. Your prayers at 3 a.m., they don't just go up into a void. They land somewhere. They trigger something. They dispatch Michael into battles you will never see, but whose results you will feel. So the next time a name pops into your head, in the middle of the night, don't push it away. Don't roll over. Get up if you can. Or just lie there and whisper, Lord, I don't know what's happening with this person. But you do. Stand in the gap for me. So much for the war. So much for intercession. But as the night wears on, something changes. The urgency transforms. The battle gives way to something softer, brighter. Between 4 and 5 a.m., another dimension opens up. The ancients called it the golden hour. And what it holds could very well change the way you approach every new day. There is a precise moment in the night. Not yet day. Not quite night. That suspended moment between the two, where the sky shifts from a deep black to a blue that only exists at that very instant. Photographers call it the blue hour. Poets have sung about it for centuries. Benedictine monks would rise specifically to experience it. But in ancient texts, it's called something else. The morning watch. The golden hour. And what happens there is anything but ordinary. In the book of Exodus, there's an image I've always found deeply moving. The people of Israel are in the desert. Nothing around them. No resources. No reserves. No certainties. And every morning, before the sun got too high, before the heat of the day arrived, the manna fell. Food. From the sky. For free. Every morning. Without fail. But here is the detail most people miss. The manna couldn't be stored. Whatever wasn't gathered in the morning melted away with the heat of the day. This isn't just a story about food in the desert. It's a picture of what happens spiritually between 4 and 5 a.m. There is something available at that hour. A clarity. A wisdom. A direction. And it melts with the first unread text. The first appointment of the day. The first stressful conversation. The manna must be gathered early, or it's gone. And here, in a rare moment, science and spirituality completely align. Neuroscientists have a name for the state of the brain in those early morning hours. The hypnopompic state. That moment of transition between sleep and wakefulness, where brain waves are still slow, still in theta mode. It's the state where the usual barriers of your mind are still down. The internal critic, the one that says that's impossible, isn't fully awake yet. And in that space, the deepest connections are made. The most creative solutions emerge. Life-changing ideas arrive. Paul McCartney heard the melody to Yesterday in a half-sleep at the crack of dawn. Einstein made his best mental associations in that state between sleep and wakefulness. Edison, who barely slept, kept a notebook by his bed, specifically to capture what came to him in those hours. But before the scientists, before the artists and the inventors, there was Gabriel. You remember Gabriel from our previous video. The messenger. The one who brings direction. The one who speaks through sudden clarity. In the book of Daniel, and this is fascinating, Gabriel appears precisely about the time of the evening sacrifice, which, in the ancient watch, refers to the dawn. In that moment of transition between night and day. Not in the middle of the day. Not in the hustle and bustle. In the in-between. Because Gabriel cannot compete with noise. He doesn't shout. He doesn't impose. He doesn't send notifications. He whispers. And his whisper is only audible when the world is still silent. That's why so many great spiritual leaders, but also entrepreneurs, artists, and writers, protect these morning hours as if their lives depended on it. Because in a way, they do. Let me give you an image. At 8 a.m., your mind is like a whiteboard that 50 people have already written on. The emails. The news. The problems to solve. The conversations from last night that are still lingering. The anxiety's waiting for you as you wake up. But at 4:30 a.m., that board is still blank. No one has written on it yet. No urgency has filled it. No demand has overloaded it. It is on this blank slate that Gabriel writes the solution to that work problem you've been turning over in your head for weeks. The answer to that family decision you couldn't seem to make. The direction you were looking for on that project close to your heart. It doesn't always arrive as a spectacular vision. It arrives as a quiet clarity. As if the answer had always been there, and you had finally just walked into the room where it was waiting for you. The monks who practiced vigils, that nocturnal prayer since the 6th century, had a word to describe what they experienced in those hours. Consolation. Not ecstasy. Not a spectacular revelation. Just a presence. A gentle certainty. The feeling that everything, despite everything, is under control. And if you've never experienced that, maybe it's because you've never let those hours be what they truly are. Because we all have that reflex, as soon as we wake up, to reach for our phones. To check. To scroll. To fill the silence. And in doing so, we wash the board clean before we even gather the manna. Now. I can hear you already. That's all beautiful, but I wake up at 3 a.m. because I'm stressed. Because I have problems. Because my body isn't working normally anymore. And you're right to say that. Because the question of the body, of what's happening physically in those hours, deserves an honest answer. Not to contradict everything we've just seen, but to show you something even more fascinating. That even your biology was designed to pull you upward. Let's be honest for a second. Because this video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about this. There is a part of you, perhaps a large part, that wakes up at 3 a.m., not in peace, but in anxiety. Your heart is beating a little too fast. Your thoughts are racing. That vague feeling that something is wrong without knowing exactly what. And you wonder, is this spiritual, or is my body just misfiring? It's a real question. And it deserves a real answer. Medicine has an explanation for these nighttime awakenings. Between 3 and 5 a.m., your body goes through what's called a cortisol spike. Cortisol, the stress hormone. The one that prepares you to face the day. It starts rising in your bloodstream long before your alarm goes off. And if you're under pressure, if your mind is carrying something heavy, this spike happens earlier. Stronger. And it jolts you awake, like an internal alarm. Traditional Chinese medicine goes even further. It has mapped out what it calls the organ-body clock. Between 3 and 5 a.m. is the hour of the lungs. In Chinese medicine, the lungs aren't just for breathing. They are associated with grief, with unexpressed sadness, with emotions we've been holding in for too long. And suddenly, it all starts to click. How many people wake up at 3 a.m. with this inexplicable sadness? This nameless weight? This melancholy that doesn't seem to belong to any specific event? It's not your imagination. It's not weakness. It's your body trying to release what your busy day didn't have time to process. But here is what neither Western medicine nor Chinese tradition tells you. What if God used that very mechanism to create an opening in you? Think about it. During the day, you're guarded, busy, distracted, protected behind your habits and the constant noise of your life. But at 3 a.m., when the cortisol rises, when the emotions surface, when your defenses are down, you are vulnerable. And vulnerability is not a weakness. It is an opening. It's in the moments when we are most open that something can enter. Not just anything. Not just anyone. The peace that surpasses all understanding. The one Paul spoke about. The one Michael brings when fear tries to crush you. The one Raphael pours into the deepest wounds. So, here is what I'm proposing. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m. in a state of anxiety, the first thing, and this is crucial. Don't touch your phone. Do not touch your phone. Not to check the time. Not to read a message. Not to scroll for 30 seconds, that will turn into 45 minutes. Because the blue light from your screen tells your brain the day has begun. And the window closes. The manna melts. The board fills up before you could even write a single word. Instead, just stay there. Eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. And do something simple. Almost too simple to seem effective. Breathe. Slowly. Consciously. And in that breath, ask a question, out loud, or just in your heart. What do you want me to know tonight? Not a long, elaborate prayer. Not perfect words. Just that question. Asked with sincerity. In the silence. And then, listen. Maybe a thought arrives. Maybe a name comes to mind. Maybe a peace settles in, slowly, like a blanket draped over your shoulders. Or maybe you just fall back asleep. And that sleep, after asking that question, is different. Deeper. More restorative. As if something has been entrusted to hands much bigger than your own. We've walked through a lot together today. The fear of the dark hour, and why it's a lie. The call to intercession, and that name that pops into your head without warning. The golden hour, and that spiritual manna waiting to be gathered. And now this, the way even your biology is working for you, not against you. There is only one thing left to do. Bring it all together. And give you something to take with you, for tonight. For the next time you wake up, in the silence of the night. And the red numbers on your nightstand, read 317. We started this journey together, in the silence of a bedroom. Red numbers glowing in the dark. A gaze fixed on the ceiling, not knowing why. But today, you know. You know that this hour doesn't belong to the darkness. It never did. You know that this inexplicable awakening isn't a glitch in your sleep. It's a hand placed gently on your shoulder. A voice whispering, I am here. And I need you. If you wake up in fear, in that nameless, crushing oppression, remember Michael. The warrior is already on his feet. He was standing before you even opened your eyes. If you wake up with a name in your head, a person, a situation, a burden that isn't yours to carry, it's your turn on watch. Someone, somewhere, needs you to stand in the gap for them. If you wake up in the strange clarity of 4 a.m., with the feeling that something is trying to emerge, Gabriel is holding a paintbrush. And the canvas of your mind is still blank. Let him write. And if you wake up broken, exhausted from carrying things too heavy for too long, Raphael is already walking beside you. Invisible. But real. Just as he was for Tobit, on a path he didn't yet understand. I want to tell you something, before I let you go. Something I didn't put in the script for this video. Because you can't plan for things like this. If you're watching this video today, it's probably not by chance, either. Maybe you're going through something difficult. A season where you feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people. A time where you're asking questions that no one around you seems to have an answer for. An internal night that has lasted much longer than the night outside. What if this video was your morning manna? Falling exactly when it needed to. Not a moment before. Not a moment after. Right now. I have a question for you. And I truly want your answer, not for the algorithm. For me. And for the thousands of people who will read the comments after you. What time does your clock show when you find yourself wide awake in the night? 3 o'clock? 3:33? For 17? Write it in the comments. Just the time. Or a few words if you want to share what you go through in those moments. Because I believe we're going to discover that many of us are awake at the exact same hours. In different houses. In different countries. In different languages. But in the same silence. With the same questions. And maybe with the same someone watching over us all. If this video touched something inside you, think of that person. You know the one. The one who told you recently that they can't sleep anymore. The one carrying something heavy and who doesn't know how to name it yet. Send them this video. Without explanation. Just, I was thinking of you. Because maybe it was specifically for them that you were watching this video today. I'm Edward. And this channel exists for one reason, to explore together those truths that the surface of life doesn't always show. If you want to continue this journey with me, the subscribe button is there. Not to hit a number on a counter, but so we can find each other again. Next time. In another video. With another question you were perhaps asking yourself without daring to speak it. And tonight, if you wake up at 3 a.m., smile. You haven't been forgotten. You've been summoned.